I'm up in Washington Heights, where I wasn't sure I was going to stick to my plan, because this very flirty woman on the subway was driving me crazy. And I was thinking I would just stay with her, follow her to her destination. But she seemed like trouble. And I am a champion of big mistakes, but somehow it just didn't seem right this time. I used to live in this building, 9 Cabrini. I forget now if I was on the second or third floor. But I know that I had this view of the bridge. Very glamorous, right? Always noisy. But it was cheap as hell. I paid $270 a month for a pretty good sized room, shared with 2 other guys. I don't know what they're building here. When I lived here, I never walked up on this bridge, the George Washington Bridge. I just wasn't a bridge walker back then. This must have been 91 or 92. Matter of fact, it wasn't even until 9/11 that my eyes even opened to the fact that you could walk over these bridges, or most of them at least. I guess they're building an extra on-ramp, off-ramp. It's funny, in bar speak, HH stands for happy hour. It's exit 9A to the Happy Hour Parkway. Hey, why not? I'll tell you what though, that woman on the train just now, is making me feel like some kind of perv. But with the summer weather, women are wearing the short skirts and the short pants and the shorts, and I feel like I haven't seen female flesh in like 6 years. It's fine though. I'm being good. This bridge used to be one of the most popular destinations for suicides, for jumpers. And for that reason, I think it was maybe 3 years ago now, they closed this this walkway for several months to put netting up. And the netting would presumably make it impossible to jump, or at least very difficult. Was they were going to put the same sort of stuff up on the RFK Triborough, but I don't think they've done that. Is really making me dizzy. Matter of fact, the last time I was up here, I came up just before they put the netting up. I don't remember if I've been back since, but the last time I was here, I was looking over the edge like that. It was a little further up, it was over the water. I was looking over the edge like that, and I got so dizzy I kind of fell backwards. Right into the path of like a group of 4 bicyclists, and it's just damn lucky we didn't all get into a clusterfuck, because I fell right into their path, but I didn't know what was happening. I was so dizzy from looking over the edge like that. I guess it would have been my fault, but it wasn't like I did anything deliberate. I mean, it would have been my fault if there was an entanglement. I think if they've delayed putting netting up on the RFK Triborough, it's because there's only one pedestrian bike path that's open. There is another path, but it's been closed for a long time. I don't know why. With the GWB, they were able to close this one for several months and just redirect everybody to the path on the other side. And yeah, here's the netting. Feels like you're in a habit trail tube now. Not to be devil's advocate or anything, but if you're really determined, you just come out here with a sharp cutting implement, a blade, climb the fence and carve out an opening, but I don't know. I'm just nursing my skepticism about the moves people take, the things people do, and the gestures they make. Under the aegis of preventing self-harm, people will just, find someplace else up the river. As you may know, as you may know or may not know, it was about 2 years ago now, maybe it's been longer. That I had been badgering the MTA for about 9 years with regard to a sign that they had on the bridge saying that life is worth living and make the call. There is a crisis counseling telephone 100 feet ahead or 150 feet ahead. And that sign went up and there was never a phone, never. And it drove me crazy. It just seemed like a cruel joke and such a needless gesture to make. It's like who is calmed and who is put at ease with this sign saying there's a phone up ahead when there isn't. And like I said, I sent email to these guys for 9 years, every single time. They would respond saying that, sorry sir, there is a phone there. And I would go back. Every time they would respond with this, I would go back thinking maybe they had put the phone in there since the last time I contacted them. And I'd write back and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just selectively blind or something, but there is no phone there. So I brought it to the attention of what was at the time kind of a new, hyper-local, sort of hard-scrabble New York City reporting website. They really hunger for minutia like this. And they wrote a piece about it, and they were asking where the hell is the phone, and then, wouldn't you know it, in response to that, the MTA put the freaking phone in. It just still angers me that, like, a citizen that has no clout in pointing out factual errors and potentially dangerous and disturbing matters like this. But that's my phone, man. They should put my name on that phone. And the phone looked exactly like that one that we just looked at back there. It's a somewhat amusing story, although it wasn't funny at the time, but I was up there showing the phone off to somebody, and in so doing, I opened and closed the cabinet door several times. And then we finished talking about it and I moved on. And next thing I knew, the walkway up there on the RFK Triborough was just swarmed with cops. New York, the NYPD. I mean, it was like the full force. And they questioned me and they asked me if we were filming up there, and we were. And they said that's illegal. And I was like, first of all, I don't think that's true, but I didn't say that. But to make a long story short, because I've told this story a million times, every time I opened the cabinet door on the phone like this, it set off an alarm at the precinct or at the bridge headquarters or wherever. And when it goes off once, they don't care. But when they heard it go off 7 or 8 times, they interpreted that to mean somebody was so distressed they couldn't make up their mind about actually picking up the phone and making a call. So that was why they sent out just cops as far as you could see down the walkway. I remember when the first cop asked us if we were filming, and I said, yeah. And he said, well, that's illegal. And I was like, okay, so if we're on the hook for filming without a permit, why are you sending out 400 cops? I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. In case I didn't make that clear, all those cops showed up because they thought I was a jumper. And it was actually kind of eerie when I realized that. And in the end, we all got a big laugh out of it, but they were not kidding around with me. They put me through a lot of questions to verify that we were just up there showing off that crisis counseling phone that I was instrumental in getting put in. And even after all the questions and everybody showing visible signs of relief, even after all that, they still had the police escort me off the bridge. because they still thought I was dangerous. So I made it over to Fort Lee. I quit recording because I suddenly got nervous about the fact that I was recording. I saw looked like a police car coming my way with its siren lights on. Just on, not the sirens weren't blaring or spinning like they do. And it just reminded me that maybe I wasn't supposed to be doing that, but if we got away with it on the RFK that day, why can't I get away with it now? And as I got to the end of the bridge, there was actually a cop car and a security van parked there. I thought maybe they were waiting for me. But I'm not sure. I looked around again, though. I didn't see any signs saying you couldn't do that, couldn't make video. But that doesn't always mean... doesn't always answer the question about whether you can or not. I had said that I thought the cop on the RFK was wrong when he said video was not allowed, and then I said I didn't see any signage. But wouldn't you know it, next time I went up onto that bridge, I did see some signage saying no video, strictly enforced. But for what it's worth, I saw a few bicyclists with their GoPro cameras on their helmets, presumably recording. Anyway, I don't know where the hell this road goes. I came to Fort Lee a few years ago and went the other direction where there was a park, I think, a Fort Lee Historic Park. Probably not going to walk back. I'll find a bus or something. Finally, a wave of quiet. I think it was as noisy here as it was up on the bridge. Looks like I'm in Edgewater now, or approaching Edgewater. Okay, sure, I'll go look at Palisades Interstate Park. I'm actually going to head back. This road is much longer than I expected, and I only realized quite a ways down that I probably should have taken the walkway that is right next to it that you can't see now, but it's to my left. I just felt like I was going down a big long rabbit hole. And maybe it wasn't as far, but this ledge is actually making me a little seasick, a little nauseous. Not to mention the curve in the road. I mean the curve in the pavement that makes it feel like I'm inevitably leaning toward falling over the edge. So why go back and walk it all over again? Well, I just don't know how much farther I had up ahead, and I could wimp out and take out a map, of course, but I think I'm going to go back to the other direction. This really feels like a road to nowhere. Yeah, there's the walkway that I should have gotten onto. Maybe I'll do that now. Whoops. Okay, I think I'm going to go back because this little stick or barricade is what I thought was telling me not to use this path. I didn't look at it from the right angle. This feels a lot more sane. Whatever I might think about this netting, I have to say the shadows that it casts are pretty cool. I'll tell you what, this edge is just enough to make me seasick, making me dizzy and nauseous. I actually have a fresh appreciation for the netting. It didn't make me feel so high up off the ground or high up over the water. So these are at Broadway and 180th Street. Well, no, they're not. They're gone, obviously. Only the enclosures remain. These look like they could be payphones, but I don't think they are. and then further up Inwood. I really never got to know the area very well, but I don't feel like I missed out on much because at the time you really didn't want to get to know this area very well. But it was one of the first 181 bits of kismet that I remember, because I got my 181 P.O. box sometime around the time I moved up here. And I never lived on 181st Street, but it was close enough for me to start seeing a pattern that 181 was going to keep reappearing in my life. I actually didn't think there were going to be any phones left up here. I thought they were working their way down Manhattan, starting from the outer boroughs and then down the island, but no dial tone there. So these are on Broadway just past 181st. I'm up at 186 now. I quit recording when I did, because I seemed to be attracting some attention from some dudes sitting around. This is kind of cool that somebody does this. But without taking credit or using it as a promotion for their website or their business. It's a photo taken from the 1940s on this exact spot, more or less. And I don't quite recognize it, but from this, but I'll take their word for it. I'm finding that nothing about this area is familiar to me. This is Broadway at Thayer. And nothing's familiar, but as I said, I really did not get out much when I lived up here. It was not a real safe area. I remember hearing though that if you could have bought a condo up here, a one bedroom for 5 figures. Back then, it'd be worth like 10 or 15 times that now, if not more. Picture of this intersection, Prince Street and Broadway from 1929, and I do see the resemblance, or I mean the resemblance is the exact same building. No question. And then this one also looks to be no question. It's from 1940. These are up at Academy Street, Broadway and Academy. Hey, we have dial tone. Oh, this is weird. That number connected me to a recorded message saying, "Thank you for calling Verizon Wireless. You will be connected to an operator." That number I dialed is supposed to read off the number of the phone from which you are calling. So that phone probably doesn't work, despite the dial tone. That one just rings and rings. Yeah, these phones have dial tone, but they don't work. You'd think I would remember this, because I would have walked past this church twice a day for a year. I don't remember it at all. I do remember Isham Street, though. Or Isham. What is this church, anyway? Capuchin Franciscans. Well, you know, maybe I wouldn't remember that church, because now I realize this is the subway station that I probably exited and entered every day. Meaning, I would enter and exit the subway. Meaning I would enter and exit the subway just before I would have seen that church. So maybe it's not my blank memory after all. I do remember this little stretch of park, Isham Park. This I remember walking past every day, and there's some benches up ahead. And 212 Street, well, what else could I think of except for the famous 212 area code? Who doesn't want to live on 212 Street in a 212 area code? And then I remember, yes, this I do remember, actually. I would pass 212 and think New York City, and then I get to 213th, 213, and I think Los Angeles. And I get to 214, I think, what was that anyway? Is it Dallas? And then 215 was Philadelphia. 216 is Cleveland, I think. I used to have all the area codes memorized, but it really lost its. I lost my love for area codes. It was long before they became irrelevant on account of cell phones, and you know, anybody anywhere can get a New York City area code number now. I lost my love for it when the 386 area code split. And I think that was, and it's not just that 386 split, but that it split into two geographically separate areas. And to me, that rendered the area code kind of meaningless. I was impacted by this because I'm forgetting now exactly what happened, but it was the 386 area code was introduced, and it changed my father's phone number. And I don't remember what his area code was before that now. But it wasn't so much that they had to add the extra area code 386, is that it didn't designate a single area with one boundary. And to me, that was the beginning of the end of my love for area codes. I remember the staircase up to the park. Very long set of stairs. So my place was on 216th Street. So we're a block away from this famous intersection. I'm going to cross over. I lived at 5057 Broadway. And that's where I posted some pictures that I took of that place on my website, some old film photos under the title of 5057 Broadway. And I don't know how long it took, but a few years later, somebody found those photos and she wrote to me and she's like, "Hey, I live in that building." And we had a little back and forth about some of the neighbors, but I never knew any of the neighbors, so I didn't have a lot to. We didn't actually have a lot to talk about, but I think she was hitting on me. And we talked about meeting up a couple of times, but then she would just disappear and then reappear like 6 months later. I gave up on her. There was no liquor store when I lived there in the lobby, but I was on the top floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was either the top floor or the 5th floor. Can't remember now. But when I moved out, I called the owner to tell him, and he was actually really upset. He offered me a small rent reduction to stay, and I said no, because I'd already found a new place on the Upper East Side. But it was just hard to rent up here back then. And of course, these days it's kind of become hard to rent anywhere, for owners, that is. But this is a good building. It was clean. I think I did see a mouse once. I mean, I know I did see a mouse once, but it was just once. I don't remember roaches or anything like that being a problem. There was no grocery store up here back then. There was really nothing up here back then. I don't remember what that big gateway was. I don't even remember that being here. But that's where I used to live. Not only did you get to see some cool graffiti, this is over on 10th Avenue, but you got to hear the roar of the subway that was the bane of my existence living up here. It was so loud, 24 hours a day. Unpredictable, it was just enough to make you crazy. So I didn't look back after moving away from this place. In fact, that place may be the only place I ever lived where I saw a mouse or any kind of rodent. I'm surprised I never saw him at the Park Lincoln, but I saw everything else there. And a whole bunch of auto body shops and parking lots around here, still on 10th Avenue. That's putting a muffler to good use. Well, here comes the roar of the train again. So many restless nights on account of this. I'm gonna head back over to Broadway and look for the A train. Sure, there's a lot more interesting stuff up here, but I want to get out to Flushing today if I can. One really cool thing about living up here was that I always got a seat on the train because this is the start of the A train. It's a small consolation, but I appreciated it. Oops. Oh, and I wanted to chance to do this. I wanted to get rid of these signs before they go away, which probably isn't going to be anytime soon, but they did lift the mask mandate for most places in New York. All I can say now is that going maskless is the easiest way to say fuck you to a total stranger without troubling yourself to actually say the words. Chance to do this on an empty car. I didn't expect that. as the extremely crowded sidewalk would indicate, I made it up to Flushing. I almost changed my mind, but decided to come up anyway. Oh, this is stupid. Walking in the street like this, I didn't realize this was stupid. Okay, gotta be more careful. I think you can get an $80 ticket for that. Walking in the street when there's a sidewalk available. So here is 41st Avenue. Still here. It's another one that I imagine they just completely forgot about. They might just leave it here forever. I don't know if there's anything worth any money in these things. I think the phones themselves have some copper in them, but I don't think it's enough to be worth more than a few bucks. They probably have some money in them, in the coin box. And you do have to ask if anybody tries to use this before realizing it doesn't work. Do they lose their money? Well, I guess I could test that to find out, but I'm not that interested to know. If I seem to be pursuing this with urgency, it's because there really is an agreed upon end date at which time all these phones are supposed to be gone. So I'll be interested to see how many get forgotten, if any. pretty sure this is where it was. So, this is Roosevelt Avenue and Prince Street. If I'm wrong, don't hate me, but I'm pretty sure this is... They got rid of one of the phone booths that used to be here. Last time I was here, I didn't get video at this booth because it was surrounded by hookers, and I didn't want to bother them or draw their attention, for that matter. This just doesn't look like there's any trace of a booth that used to be here, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the next block. I'll go check. Alrighty, I can confirm this is where it used to be. This just doesn't look like the usual spot. I mean, it's not the way it usually looks. Usually there's like more evidence that the phone used to be there, but form of a concrete smear or something. And I'm turning away because that guy was looking at me. I think he thought I was making video of his car for some reason. I guess I'd be paranoid about that too, if I had reason to be. Anyway, payphone from Prince Street is gone. Well, unless I'm spacing out here, and that's eminently possible, I think that enclosure on 41st Avenue is the last CityBridge relic, and that should likely be gone soon. So now I'll check to see if the subway phone works. Today's the first day of that the mask mandate is lifted. But as you can see, pretty much every single person out here is still masked up. If I remember right, Flushing was masked as early as February. It just seemed like they were the first to be on the ball about taking care of that, but it's going to be a long time before people give them up. Anyway. That's the end of an era. The phone's dead. I wonder if all the subway phones aren't dead by now. Well, there are no flirty babes on this car, unlike earlier today. She was really something, but very, very tempting. But, you know, COVID is still here. Maybe she's vaxxed. We didn't get anywhere near that kind of conversation, but even if she's vaxxed, someone might have just coughed on her earlier, you know? And I need more assurances. I need maybe too many assurances, but I need a little more assurance before I'm going to hook up with somebody I meet on the subway. So that's the end of payphones in Flushing. That was it. That was the last dial tone at the Main Street subway. And chances are it's also the end of all the non-working phones. So the landscape has changed.
This is 957 local train. The next stop is 111th Street.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
So my next little project will be to see if my theory is true, that all the subway phones are gone. Street one had a little bit of meaning for me because it's one of the ones I played a small part in getting fixed. And I also caught video of an actual real-world payphone user attempting to use it, proving once again that people will still use payphones if it's possible for them to do so, if they're allowed.
This is 111th Street.
Transfer is available Q48 bus to LaGuardia Airport.
Nothing like an almost empty subway car at rush hour. Of course, this is reverse commuting or going against the rush hour.
This is the Mass About 7 local train. The next stop is 103rd Street, Corona